the Supreme Court just dropped a 8-1 emergency decision, and it's kicking up dust from Missouri clear down to the Gulf. This one's all about the Second Amendment Preservation Act. Most folks just call it SOPA, and let me tell you, this ruling could change how states stand toe-to-toe with Uncle Sam when it comes to gun laws. Well, before we saddle up, let me tip my hat for those of you who care about the court shaping our freedoms and decisions. Hit the subscribe button. It doesn't cost you a dime, but it sure helps keep spread the word to folks who still believe in liberty and the rule of law. A big thanks to the companies who's standing tall for freedom and responsibility and the Second Amendment. Now let's get down to brass tacks. Back in 2021, Missouri passed a SOPA that basically telling Washington y'all can't make rules and you don't expect us to spend our dollars and boots and badges enforcing those laws that we reckon are unconstitutional. Well, even went so far as to say that any citizen could sue state officials who tried to help the feds enforce the law. And that's Missouri putting this flag and saying, not on our dirt. Well, Biden's DOJ didn't take kindly to that and hauled Missouri into courts faster than a rancher chasing a loose calf, arguing that states can't ignore federal law. Missouri fired back, saying the feds were overstepping and that the states have every right to decide how their own resources are used. Well, when the dust settles at the Supreme Court, the justices voted 8-1 to deny Missouri emergency request, keeping SOPA in play while the case works its way through the courts. Only Justice Clarence Thomas stood with Missouri, saying that they ought to get temporary relief. Now, don't go to thinking that SOPA's dead and buried. The courts didn't say that the law was unconstitutional. They just said, not yet, partner, and the fight's heading back down to the lower courts, and that's where things are going to get really interesting. And here's the kicker. Under Trump's DOJ, the feds loosened up the grip a bit, saying earlier an injunction against Missouri was too broad and means that parts of SOPA could still see daylight while the cases keep riding through the courts. Why such a big deal? Well, because Missouri wins, it opens up the gates for other states like Texas and Florida and Arizona and you name it to pass their own SOPA-style laws that'll change the way the Fed gun laws are enforced nationwide. Biden DOJ leans on the Supremacy Clause, saying that the federal law trumps the state law. Well, Missouri fires back with the anti-commandeering doctrine, which basically says that the feds can't force states to do their dirty work. Well, the principles being upheld before these cases like in the marijuana and immigration. So here we are. The Supreme Court 8-1 call didn't end the rodeo. It just moved it to the next arena. Missouri's still in the saddle, and other states are watching close. If SOPA holds up, you can bet your boots that we'll see a stampede of similar laws across the country. The bottom line, it ain't over. It's just in the next chapter in a long fight for the Second Amendment and state sovereignty and the right of everyday Americans to stand tall against the federal overreach. This country was built by folks who stood their ground, and it's likely to be encamped by those who refuse to back down. And if you got something out of this little tidbit, give me a thumbs up and put your comments below. And don't forget to subscribe. It keeps this old wagon a-rolling. Well, this is Thoughts While Thinking, and these opinions are mine.